The first thing Sam learned about the crystalline penitentiary was the silence. It wasn't an absence of sound, but a smothering of it. The low, constant hum of the geodesic walls absorbed everything: the clang of doors, the shuffle of feet, even the ragged edges of a man's sobs. It was a silence that got inside your head, a velvet-lined coffin for the mind. Sam's head was a dangerous place to be. Once it had housed the sharp, methodical mind of an investigator for the Orion Regulatory Bureau. Now it was a repository of rage and the memory of a frame-up so perfect he could still taste its metallic bitterness. His desire was a simple, feral thing: survival. But in this place, that was the most complex ambition of all. His cellmate, Leo, had the latent gene. Everyone knew it. The guards tested for it upon intake, a quick, brutal brainstem scan. Leo, a gentle giant who'd piloted deep space freighters, would sometimes trace the faint, glowing veins in the crystal wall with a trembling finger. "They sing," he'd whisper, his eyes distant, "a real pretty song." Weeks later, Leo wasn't singing. He was curled in a corner, clawing at his own temples, babbling about the blue light eating his thoughts. They found him at shift change, his eyes wide open, vacant, a tiny trickle of blood dry beneath his nose. The official log called it spontaneous neural attenuation. The inmates called it shard madness. Sam's old instincts, long buried under a layer of cynicism and defeat, stirred. He noticed what others missed. Leo's death was the third in his block. All latent genes. All had worked extended shifts in the new deep-level excavation wing where the crystals glowed brightest. His investigation began in the only way it could, with observation. He traded his sugar rations for a job in the prison laundry, which served the administrative block. He watched the warden, a severe woman named Valerius, whose eyes were the same cold blue as the prison walls. He saw the corporate visitors from Omnigen, clad in pristine suits, their interest too keen for a simple penal facility. The air in the excavation wing was thick, charged with an energy that made the fillings in Sam's teeth ache. The hum was a physical pressure here. He saw men like Leo, their movements growing jerky, their conversations faltering into nonsensical phrases. He saw the Omnigen techs taking notes, their expressions not of concern, but of clinical satisfaction. His break came from a man named Reyes, a wiry forger doing life for fabricating transit documents. Reyes had the gene, and the fear in his eyes was a sharp, lucid thing. "They're tuning it, Epoch," Reyes whispered, using Sam's old bureau call sign. The name was a ghost from another life. "The crystals, it's not just exposure. They're pulsing the resonance, finding the frequency that unravels us." Reyes shoved a data slate into Sam's hands, stolen from an inattentive tech. It wasn't just maintenance logs, it was a research manifest. Project Atos, Phase 3. Subject attrition rate within acceptable parameters. Neurological degradation patterns consistent with targeted psychic weaponization. The word weaponization made the pieces click into place with a cold, final certainty. The prison wasn't a facility, it was a petri dish. The inmates weren't just prisoners, they were raw materials. The accidents were deliberate culls, weeding out the weak to find the one mind that could withstand the resonance, the ultimate carrier for a psychic plague. Sam's desire for survival crystallized into something harder, brighter. It was no longer about enduring, it was about breaking the system. The climax began with the lights. The gentle blue glow of the crystals flared into a piercing, painful azure. The hum rose to a shriek that seemed to originate inside Sam's skull. All around him, latent gene inmates screamed, clutching their heads. It was a field test, the final one. Sam moved, not towards the exits, but deeper, towards the warden's observation hub overlooking the excavation pit. He used the chaos, the panic of the guards, the sheer blinding agony of the test subjects. Reyes had given him one more thing: the override code for the hub's bulkhead, gleaned from a forged work order. He burst into the hub. Warden Valeria stood before a bank of monitors, her face illuminated by the agonized contortions of the men below. An Omnigen executive stood beside her, a smile playing on his lips. "The epoch subject," Valeria said, not turning. "I calculated you'd be a disruption. Your resistance to the resonance is remarkable. The perfect control variable." "It's over," Sam said, his voice rough.
"On the contrary," the executive chirped, "it's just beginning. Imagine a broadcast that can target specific genetic markers delivered by a carrier mind. We can end insurrections before they start, silence dissidents without a sound, the ultimate sanction." Sam's eyes fell on the main resonance amplifier, a spire of concentrated crystal in the center of the hub. His investigation was over. The truth was laid bare. Now it was about sabotage. He didn't charge. He feigned a stumble, his body slamming into the main control console. As Valerius reached for her shock baton, his fingers, trained for more delicate work, found the physical override for the amplifier's cooling system. He ripped the conduit free. A high-pitched whine built from the crystal spire. Cracks of furious white light spiderwebbed across its surface. The executive's smile vanished. "You'll destabilize the entire grid." "I know," Sam said. The resulting implosion wasn't of sound, but of silence. A wave of absolute negative quiet shattered the observation glass and blew out every monitor. When Sam's hearing returned, it was to the blessed, mundane sound of alarms and panicked shouts. The psychic shriek was gone. In the aftermath, the official report cited a catastrophic systems failure. Omnigen withdrew, their data corrupted, their prototype destroyed. Sam was transferred to a different, louder prison, a place of steel and concrete where silence was a luxury. He had no proof, only the truth, but he had saved the men who were left. And as he sat in his new cell, listening to the honest, grating noise of human despair, he found a new desire. Not just survival, not just escape, but to ensure that the silence, when it finally came for the people who had built this horror, would be the kind they feared most. The silence of exposed secrets and of justice, patiently waiting.